This tale is about an adventurer who joined a hero party but had to leave because a team member thought he was useless. Instead, he decided to live a simple life in Zoltan's borderland region, dreaming of building his own apothecary. He didn't focus much on being an adventurer after going through the guild. The young Tanta approached him, and they discussed the divine blessing that everyone in this world is gifted with. This divine blessing helps identify a person's abilities, especially at night. He recalled a day when Ares, a colleague from the hero party, spoke to him. They called him Gideon, and Ares handed him a sword, then created a barrier to test if he could break it with the weapon. Since he couldn't, Ares made it clear that his weakness was a burden to the group. Ares also mentioned that he was becoming a burden to his sister, Rudy, who was acknowledged as a hero. Rudy possessed the divine blessing of the guide, a crucial element for guiding a hero. Even though Ares acknowledged that he had helped the group in the past, he straightforwardly stated that the group no longer required him. Ares suggested that he should leave the group to make it easier for his sister, Rudy, who was concerned about his well-being. Due to his concern for his sister, he was compelled to leave the group. Since then, he changed his name to Red and settled in Zoltan. The following day, while gathering plants, an owlbear approached him, but it was taken aback when he suddenly vanished. He thought about letting it be because he was no longer part of the hero party. When he returned to the village, some adventurers were surprised to see him alive, as they had heard news of an owlbear sighting in the forest. Since he was known to frequent the mountains for herb collection, his survival surprised them. A B-rank adventurer named Albert invited him to join their group, even though he was just a D-rank. Albert's group wanted him to guide them in the forest for a plan to fight the owlbear. He declined the offer, explaining that he wasn't interested in advancing in the guild, and he didn't want them to see his true abilities. When he returned home, his friend Gans came to him because Tanda was sick with a fever and had a white eye. Upon hearing the doctor's words, he immediately thought of using blood needles, a necessary medicine to heal Tanta. However, due to the guild's safety restrictions after the owlbear incident, adventurers were forbidden from entering the forest. Despite this, Gans pleaded with him to go to the forest and fetch the blood needles. To save Tanta, he decided to do it, using his lightning speed to reach the forest quickly. Upon arrival, he saw the forest on fire. Hastily, he collected the blood needles before the flames reached them. Shortly afterward, he spotted the giant creature, the owlbear, in front of him. The owlbear immediately attacked him, but he skillfully avoided its strikes and defeated it with just one attack. Albert's group witnessed the owlbear's lifeless body, and his companions assumed that Albert had accomplished it with the help of the blood needles. With the blood needles, they were able to save Tanta, and Gans expressed gratitude to Red for his actions. 4 months later, the renowned champion named Rit visited their guild. Upon noticing Migria's attire, she mentioned attending the opening of Red's store. Migria spoke highly of Red, piquing Rit's interest. The news of Red's success in acquiring the blood needles had spread in the area, despite the forest being on fire at that time. Although Red claimed he obtained them recently, Migria had doubts because she sensed hidden strength in Red, enabling him to achieve seemingly impossible tasks. Meanwhile, at Red's house, the opening of his store commenced, drawing a large crowd. Red learned from other adventurers about Rudy's group successfully defeating Gondair's army, one of the demon lords for celestial kings. Red believed that the current situation would be better for his sister. One night, Rit visited him, and they discovered that they already knew each other. Rit, a princess of Lagervia, chose to become an adventurer to avoid conflicts with her brother over the throne. When Rit learned that Ares had removed Red from the hero party, she was upset because she understood Red's value in the group. However, Red thought it might be for the best since the group successfully defeated the demon lord's army after he left. They reminisced about the day they first met in Lagervia, when Red, also known as Gideon, was still part of the hero party aiming to defeat the Azura demon army led by Shasandan. Lagervia collaborated with the hero party, and Rit suggested attacking the enemy supply depot, a plan quickly agreed upon by Gaius. The hero party was assigned to defend the castle, but the plan failed when they discovered that Shasandan, pretending to be Gaius, already knew about their intentions. Fortunately, Gideon arrived to help Rit just as Shasandin revealed his true form. They fought against Shasandin until Rudy joined the battle. Rudy successfully cut off Shasandin's arms and aimed for its heart. Witnessing Rudy's strength, Rit couldn't believe what she saw. Due to the loss of comrades, Risk had lost the courage to continue fighting, but Gideon's words helped her regain courage, and together they defeated the Demon Lord's army attacking Lagervaya. Currently, Rit asked Red if she could work as his assistant at the store. Red hesitated because Rit couldn't leave the guild, and his store's sales were still low, making it hard to afford an assistant. Despite this, Risk insisted on working at the store, and Red had no choice but to accept. Ares found a replacement for Red, also known as Gideon, to serve as their guide in their travels. The new member, Tease, had the divine blessing of the assassin. Danon introduced himself with the blessing of martial arts, and Theodora had the blessing of the Crusader. Rudy came out of the tent to inform Tease that she was their leader, not Ares. Their current mission was to retrieve the weapon left behind by the former Demon Lord. The next day, the two decided to go to town and buy a bed for Rit. After purchasing what they needed, they discussed leveling up a person's blessing. They learned that one way to level up a blessing was by fighting and killing someone with a similar blessing. This was a common practice for people to enhance their abilities. Suddenly, they noticed Tanta being beaten by a demi, so Red intervened to stop the fight. After the demi's group left, Red talked to them, and Al explained that the demi's behavior had changed recently. Red suggested that the demi might have discovered his divine blessing, affecting his behavior based on the type of blessing received. Red added that the demi might have the Barb Brawler blessing, given his focus on fighting. They also discovered that Al had the blessing of being a weapon master. Although it was a good blessing, Al wasn't happy with it, fearing he might turn out like the demi. While Rit was advising Al, Red thought about her own Spirit Scout blessing, considering it might be the reason she chose freedom over staying in the palace. After talking to Tanta and Al, they went to the authorities to get approval for the medicines created by Red. However, Dan did not approve it. They decided to talk to a higher official in the town to understand why the drug approval process became stricter. They learned that the authorities found out a drug they approved a month ago was being used illegally and had reached the black market and even the nobles. This led to criticism of their office, especially Dan, who was responsible for it. However, due to Risk's personal request, they agreed to approve Red's creation. In the hero party, several days had passed, but they still didn't have clear information about what they were looking for. Ares mentioned having trouble negotiating with the people in the area. Gideon's name came up in the conversation, and Danon mentioned they had no issues with him when he was part of their group. Because of this, Danon decided to find Gideon and bring him back to their group. Danon realized it was a big mistake when they lost Gideon from their group. Rudy came out of her tent and allowed Danon to find Gideon. Danon and Theodora discussed the possibility that Ares had purposely removed Gideon because they knew he was an obstacle to Ares' plans. Theodora added that even Yaradrala suspected Ares of mischief, so she confronted him. Yaradrala also recognized Gideon's talent and was amazed at his ability to fight using only his normal skills. Danon agreed with this because Gideon was a tactician and never once considered himself a burden to the group. They both believed that Ares did not do something bad, as he couldn't have killed Gideon. Meanwhile, other adventurers couldn't believe that Red and Rit were together under the same roof. A few hours later, Albert also went to Red's store. Albert took this opportunity, while they were alone, to ask Red if he was the one who killed the owl bear 4 months ago. Everyone believed it was Albert who killed the owl bear, but Albert denied it, saying the big wound wasn't from his sword. Red refused to admit the truth, so Albert got annoyed and pointed his sword at him. Rit suddenly arrived and attacked Albert swiftly. With the speed of her attack, Albert couldn't defend himself. Red stopped Rit before she could harm Albert. Albert was surprised that Red quickly approached him, and in fear and anger, he quickly left the store. Rudy and the others continued their journey while Danon looked for Gideon to solve their current problem in the search. Theodora asked Tease if she was disappointed in her new group. She informed Tease that they never had this problem before. It started when Gideon left their group, and it seemed like the group was falling apart. The group needed Gideon, and that was also the reason why Rudy was behaving like this. One day, Red was visited by Gallatin, a senior official of the Adventurers Guild. They wanted to talk to Rit, but Red asked them to wait until the store opened. After a while, they opened the store, and a man from the Thieves' Guild entered first. He offered Red an elven coin worth 10,000 perils in exchange for something, but Red immediately rejected it. He told the man that even if he offered thousands of elven coins, it wouldn't match Rit's value. The man had no other choice but to leave, still hoping that Red would change his mind. Outside the store, Rit was also offered by Gallatin and his companions, trying to convince her to go back to the guild as an adventurer again, but she rejected all these offers. When Rit entered the store, she couldn't believe the day had come when she would be together with Red in the same house. She remembered the days when they were battling demons in Lagervia. When Lagervia faced trouble, they sought help from Sunland. Gideon came up with a plan to navigate the bewitching woods. While it was difficult for people, demons would also struggle to get through. During their meeting, Gideon met the elf Yaradrala, blessed with the singer of the trees. Gideon mentioned that Yaradrala would be the key to his strategy. With Yaradrala's blessing, they could immediately know what was happening in the entire forest. This made it easy for them to detect demons waiting at the exit of the bewitching woods. Gideon planned to distract the opponents while Rudy and the others would destroy the enemy's defense. Although Rit and Ares knew it was risky, Rudy trusted Gideon's strategy. She assigned Yaradrala to accompany Gideon, and with reinforcements from Sunland, they successfully defeated the demons in the area. Since Lagervia needed to be rebuilt, Rit decided to stay and help the people. Meanwhile, the Thieves' Guild devised a plan to make Rit return as an adventurer. They hired an adventurer named Dur to persuade and convince Rit. In the afternoon, while Rit was delivering the medicines, Dur went to talk to her. No matter how hard he tried to plead for her to come back, he still failed to convince her. On the other hand, Rudy couldn't help but remember her brother every time she was alone, especially every night. It was the day when Ares informed her about the sudden departure of Gideon. Ares told her that Gideon would only serve as a scout to watch over the other army of the Demon Lord. Rudy suddenly thought that Ares had done something bad to Gideon, so she attacked him, causing severe stomach injury to Ares. Realizing what she did, Rudy immediately healed him with her healing power and apologized to Ares. As they continued their journey, they arrived not far from the ruins of the former Demon Lord. Ares said that there was a high possibility that the weapon they were looking for could be found there. While Tease was fetching water, Rudy approached her. Tease suddenly asked Rudy if she had enough sleep because every time she peeked into her tent, she always saw her awake. Rudy answered that she was not taking her sleep, and it was the hero blessing that helped her, so she would not feel tired. This also included the need for food because she was not feeling hungry and other things, even those unnecessary emotions, had been removed from her senses. One day, while Red and Rit were talking, someone suddenly entered the store, and it was a wounded man. Knowing that it was not just an accident, Rit quickly went out of the store to see what was happening outside. She saw there one of the members of Albert's group named Campbell and his victims lying on the ground. The two of them fought, but some of Campbell's comrades also came there with their axes. After a while, someone attacked Campbell and his men, and it turned out to be Albert. Rit asked him what happened to Campbell, but Albert had no idea about it. One day, another member of Albert's group named Rhea visited them to apologize for what their former colleague did to Rit. They also talked about Albert, who, according to Rhea, was irritated because they could not meet Albert's expectations. Albert had a divine blessing, the champion, which allowed him to overcome various trials as an adventurer. This was what motivated Albert to showcase his abilities to the world, but he was disappointed with their current situation. Rhea was worried that Albert might leave Zoltan, but Red assured her that he was confident Albert would not do that. Meanwhile, Danon was in a bar when a man approached him and asked if he was looking for Gideon. The man introduced himself as Boyd and was also searching for Gideon. He suggested that they should cooperate in the search for Gideon. One night, during heavy rain, someone knocked on the door of Red's store. When he opened it, he saw the doctor carrying Owl, who had blood on its head. The doctor mentioned that Owl might have been hit by a stone, as there were small pieces of it on his head. When Owl regained consciousness, he screamed and said that a demi went to their house and attacked his parents with its axe. Shocked by this, they immediately went to Al's house and found his parents lying on the floor. Fortunately, they were still alive but had minor injuries. After the incident, Adami suddenly disappeared from their village. Adami's father, named Moan, was also the captain of the town guards. The citizens of South Marsh were angry and suspected that he was hiding his son. Al's parents were recovering at the mansion of a Thieves Guild official named Big Hawk, while Al was in Red's care. Al begged them to teach him how to use a sword. Rit didn't hesitate to teach him. While they were resting, Gans came and informed them about Tanta, who was being captured by the town's guards. They went to Gallatin at the guild to request a joint inquiry with the town guards. With the help of Rit, Gallatin agreed and provided a request letter to take to the town guards. When they arrived, Mion immediately confronted them. After they managed to get Tanta, they talked about Adami. They found out that Mion was not hiding his son from them. They took Tanta to ask him about Adami because the soldiers suspected he had been killed by the residents of South Marsh. It was also possible that it wasn't Adami. Mion added that there were many puzzles in this incident, including the survival of Tanta's parents and Adami's choice to use the axe. Even Tanta couldn't believe that Adami could do this because they had just talked the other day. Adami apologized to him and promised not to hurt other people for no reason. They had a hunch that the illegal medicine spreading had something to do with it. Mion talked to Red and Rit about this matter and told the others to go home first. Mion asked Rit for help to catch the smugglers of these drugs. Red went home alone, and Rit was left in the town. Then Red decided to help Al with his weapon handling training. While resting, Al mentioned that a man entered their store and gave him a weapon. Al suspected that the man was connected to Big Hawk because his father told this man that his divine blessing had been awakened. While in town, Rit immediately caught the drug smuggler, but there was a sudden explosion. In a few moments, the rest of the colleagues of the smuggler also arrived. While Rit was fighting them, a man helped her knock down the enemies. It turned out to be Danon, and he mentioned his plan to take Red or Gideon back to the group. Danon already knew that Gideon was there in Zoltan, and he heard that he was living a simple life there. When Danon removed the enemy's hood, Rit was surprised that it was a demon, so she wondered what made the demons come to Zoltan. Although Danon needed the help of Red and Rit in eliminating the demons in the area, he asked her not to let Red know that he was in Zoltan. When Rit got home, Red showed her the weapon that Al received from the man using Rit's power. They found out what materials were in it and where it was made. In addition to this, Rit was sure that this weapon had a locate spell, which made Red wonder why Big Hawk wanted to know Al's location. Meanwhile, when Rudy's group arrived at the ruins, they faced a gargantuan demon. Rudy ordered Tease to find the weapon while they would fight the demon. Rudy attacked the enemy first, followed by Theodora's attack. The demon attacked Ares, but fortunately, Rudy quickly blocked it with the help of Tease's pet spider. They quickly found the thing inside the big room. After several attacks, Rudy and Theodora managed to defeat the gargantuan demon. When Tease returned, she took them to where she saw the big thing. They were surprised that it turned out to be an airship, so they used it for their travel. Rit went to the town and brought the weapon that was given to Al. She was ambushed by the Thieves Guild, led by Dur, who were thinking that it was Al. They were surprised when Rit took off her hood. Dur was annoyed that Rit outsmarted them, so they attacked her, but Rit quickly defeated them. Then a man appeared holding an axe. Rit knew that this was no longer a human, so it transformed into its form as an axe demon. But Rit did not know that the Thieves Guild knew her plan. That's why a man named Godwin took it out. It turned out that they planned to make Al the hero of South Marsh, and he was brought to Big Hawk, who was also the initiator of the creation and distribution of the illegal drug called the Devil's Blessing. They presented Al to the citizens of South Marsh, who were furious about what Ademi did to Al's parents. It turned out that they were also the ones who hit Ademi, and Blackhawk wanted Al to kill him for revenge. Instead of seeking revenge, Al chose to release Ademi out of disappointment. Godwin brought out the axe that attracted Ademi because he had consumed the devil's blessing. When Ademi got the axe, a man suddenly came in and cut the axe's handle. It was Red, who also attacked the enemies. He used his power to save both Al and Ademi, and they quickly left the area. While resting, they were approached by Bowie, who was asked by Rit to execute their plan. However, the Thieves' Guild, including Albert, appeared again. So Red decided to face them first. Red fought against Albert, who was surprised because Red could keep up with him, even though Red was only at D level. At that moment, Red found out that Big Hawk was possessed by a demon. Then, Albert offered Red to work with him so he could achieve his dream of becoming a hero. However, Albert was surprised when the town guards, led by Gallatin, arrived. Albert could not accept that he would be caught by them, so he attacked Red. But Red just avoided it and cut off one of his hands. Red told him that he expected Albert to be the hero of Zoltan because he knew about Albert's desire to become a hero. Bowie brought Al and Ademi to the people of South Marsh to encourage them to forget about revenge and go back home. At night, while Big Hawk was in jail, Bowie visited him. He was surprised when Bowie called him Belial, which was his real name as a demon. So, he immediately thought that this person was Shasandan. He cancelled the contract with Big Hawk, transformed into a demon, and then went to Albert's prison. They formed a contract. When Bowie went to Albert's prison, he was gone. He happened to meet Rudy. Belial offered Rudy to drink the medicine created by Godwin to increase the level of her power even more while fighting demons. However, Rudy became more interested in its side effect of reducing her power level so that she would not be recognized as a hero. The next morning, she left Ares and Theodora and took only Tease with her to operate the airship. When they reached Zoltan, Rudy changed her name to Roar and pretended to be a simple traveler. However, a town guard named Otto was asking those who crossed the bridge for 100 perils, so Rudy used her strength and threw him away. When Red was about to pass, Otto also blocked him to take his money. Just like what his sister did, he also threw him away with one punch. In the evening, when Red got back, the town guard who was guarding the gate invited him to have a drink. While they were drinking, Tease also came there to eat. They both could feel that each of them was not just an ordinary person. When Tease got back to where they were staying, she informed Rudy that she met a man who might be a problem for them because he noticed immediately that she was hiding her weapons. The next night, Rudy and Tease went to Godwin's prison to order him to create the devil's blessing. In Godwin's fear of Rudy's stares, he agreed immediately, and he was taken out of jail. The next morning, they decided to heal Godwin's wounds first. Since Rudy did not want to use her healing hands and to avoid other people recognizing her as a hero, they thought of going to the well-known apothecary, which was Red's store. When they entered the store, Tease was surprised to see Red, but Rudy was more surprised, as well as Red when they met each other. Rudy immediately hugged Red, and Gans was surprised that Red's real name was Gideon. When Gans left, the siblings talked, and Red told Rudy the real reason why he left the hero party. Rudy also mentioned that since Red disappeared from the group, their journey became difficult for them. When Red heard this, he was surprised because he thought that the group's missions had become easier when he left the group. Even though Rudy offered him to return to the group, Red could not accept it anymore. Because of this, Rudy also decided to live there in Zoltan, which surprised Red and Tease. When Rick came, she was also surprised when she heard Rudy's plan to live there with them. While they were on their way home, Rudy suddenly felt a pain in her chest. She knew that it was because of what she said, that she would stay in Zoltan even though she was a hero. When they got to where they were staying, Rudy informed Tease of her plan to find the ancient elven ruins, which were located in the forest near where their airship landed. Even Bowie was also planning to find the ancient elven ruins. The next day, Rudy and Tease went back to Red's store to help, but the customers would leave because they were afraid of Rudy. Red took Rudy to the sauna, and even the owner of the sauna was scared when Rudy stared at him, while Ares and Theodora decided to follow Rudy and they took Albert with them. Theodora and Albert had a conversation, and he mentioned that there was something strange about the person who injured his hand. He said that he could not understand why that person did not become a champion even though he was so strong. Theodora told him that even though they were given a divine blessing, it doesn't mean that they did not have their own decision to take a different path. She added that it was still up to them to decide what they would do with their lives. While the three girls were taking a bath at Red's house, Rudy told them about her reason for admiring her older brother since they were young. Because of her hero blessing, she had to risk her life to save those who needed help. One time when the owlbear attacked her, she screamed for help from her older brother, who immediately came and killed the enemy. Her older brother was always by her side whenever she was in trouble and hurt, and this made her happy. Because of Rudy's words, it was only at that moment that Tease realized her true feelings. She thought that it might only be Rudy's brother who could save her from the hardship she was going through, but it also occurred to her that she and Rit could also do something for her. Tease decided to inform Red and Rit about the conversation regarding the contract of Demon Belial with Rudy and the devil's blessing that Rudy was drinking. Because of this, Red decided to talk to Godwin, who was currently in the ancient elven ruins, to find out more information about the devil's blessing. Tease told Red about Godwin's request for alchemical tools, and Red said that he would search for these in the town. Theodora and the others arrived in Zoltan, and Ares looked for a place for them to stay. When Red saw the materials for Godwin, he was surprised to meet Danon in town. When Theodora and Albert were in the same place, Theodora used magic so that Red and Danon would not notice them. Red told Danon that Rudy was also in Zoltan and was currently struggling because of her hero blessing. Danon also decided to help Red save Rudy from her suffering. Ares was visited by Shasandan, who disguised itself as Danon. He mentioned that he had seen Gideon in the area and was currently running an apothecary with Rit. Ares was annoyed that Gideon was just having fun with a princess while he was struggling, so he decided to go to Red's store. When they went to the store, he destroyed all the equipment and items inside it. Meanwhile, the real Danon and Red were on their way to Rudy's location. Red was surprised to know that Shasandan was still alive. Red thought that they had killed Shasandan in Lagervaya, but Danon was sure that Shasandan was the one he fought that day. After a while, they saw a dragon heading towards Rudy's location, but they did not notice that Ares and Shasandan were riding it. Then, Danon told Red to go ahead so he could reach Rudy faster. Red saw Rit and Tease and mentioned that he met with Danon, so Rit admitted that she and Danon also met the other day. Since Rit did not notice any change in Danon when they met, Red mentioned that Danon's hand had been cut off. Rit was shocked when she heard that it was done by Shasandan, which she also thought they had already defeated in Lagervaya. Because of this, they immediately thought that Shasandan might be the one Red had met the other night. Red reached the ancient elven ruins first. When he entered a room, he drew his sword and saw Godwin. He made a way to make him scream, and Rudy appeared immediately. While Danon was still on his way, a dragon came down with Theodora on board. Rit and Tease had also entered the ancient elven ruins, and they met Red, who was with his sister. Then, they discussed their plan to talk to Godwin about the devil's blessing. Rudy also mentioned that the devil's blessing had no effect on her. Red asked why she was able to weaken the effect of the hero blessing, so Rudy told him about a nameless blessing that appeared in her, but it has no skills or impact on her body. They talked to Godwin about this, and Godwin replied that if the devil's blessing did not work on Rudy, as well as the nameless blessing, it was possible that those had no disturbing effect on her body. Suddenly, Tease felt something coming, and it turned out to be Plague Eyes. Rudy attacked them with her lightning judgment, and she went to the source of the Plague Eyes, with Red following her. When they got to a room, they saw Ares standing there. Ares asked Rudy to come with him on a trip, but Rudy made it clear that she would not travel again because she had already decided to live there as an ordinary citizen. This angered Ares, and he blamed it on Red, so he suddenly attacked him. Because of what he did, Rudy got angry at Ares, and she retaliated against him. When Rudy and Red left, Shasandan transformed himself as Bowie and intended to give Ares a healing potion, but Ares healed himself. Ares already knew that Bowie was an Azura demon because he used the appraisal skill on him and found out that he had no blessing, which, as far as he knew, only the Azura demon did not have. Bowie asked Ares to work together because the relic of the first hero was said to be inside the ruins. He also told Ares that he could use this to get Rudy back on his side because of Ares' desire to bring Rudy back to him. Ares agreed to Bowie's offer. Tease also felt that Ares was with someone else, which made Red think that it might be Shasandan. Meanwhile, Danon and his companions also arrived in the ancient elven ruins. Danon quickly reached the location of Ares and immediately attacked Bowie or Shasandan. After taking the sword from the skeleton, Shasandan retaliated, but Danon was able to counter his attack. After this, Danon beat up Shasandan, so he asked Ares for help, and Ares used a storm javelin that affected Danon. Because of this, Shasandan got a chance to attack Danon. Suddenly, Shasandan transformed into its demon form and repeatedly attacked Danon. Danon was able to break all of his swords, but unfortunately, he did not expect that his opponent would use its foot to attack, causing him to be defeated. They continued their search until they found 5 holy demon slayers in a room, which surprised Ares because he thought that there was only one of it. Then, Shasandan told him that those were just replicas of the holy demon slayer, which was used by the first hero, and they were called Sacred Avengers. In order for Rudy to prioritize her return as a hero, Ares had to do 2 things. First, one of the Sacred Avengers must be given to Rudy, and secondly, the reason for her to leave his hero status should be lost, and it was her brother, Red or Gideon. Shasandan took one of it and gave it to Ares. When Gideon felt that Shasandan was behind the other door, Rudy returned the Thunder Waker sword to him. After opening the door, they saw Shasandan, who looked like Gaius, so Red immediately rushed to kill him. Rit was able to track Shasandan's location, and Red also helped to fight him. Ares attacked Red with its paralyzing flame, and because of this, Rudy used the sacred magic shield to protect Red and Rit. Then they both attacked each other. On the other hand, Godwin was about to leave there, but the dragon blocked him. Batis attacked it, and when Albert and Theodora saw Danon, Albert quickly helped him. Rudy used a great whirlwind, and with its great power, the dragon died immediately, and the Sacred Avenger was also broken. Tease felt that someone was coming from below, and it turned out to be Theodora, who immediately bound Rit. Then she also attacked Rudy, and Theodora said that she had to sacrifice Rudy and continue being a hero for the sake of the world. The dragon grabbed Rit, but when she was able to get away from it, Red had the opportunity to kill the dragon. Ares used an iron wall and threw it at Red and Rit, who were in the elevator, causing it to fall. Rudy managed to defeat Theodora, but when Shasandan attacked her, her sword had been broken, and they both fell to the bottom. Tease was ready to attack Ares, but he moved quickly using the tornado cutter. As Red and Rit were falling down, Danon positioned himself at the bottom and managed to save them, bringing them back to the top. When Ares was about to attack Red, Tease's pet spider stopped his fingers, allowing Red to counterattack and cut off Ares' hands. While the fight between Rudy and Shasandan continued below, Shasandan used the Sacred Avengers. However, when Rudy removed one of them from Shasandan's hand, she punched him hard, destroying the other Sacred Avengers. Rudy picked up the fallen Sacred Avenger and repeatedly attacked Shasandan. Shasandan was pleased because his plan to make Rudy hold the Sacred Avenger was successful. When Rudy returned to her companions, she suddenly attacked Red, but Tease blocked it. Red asked Rit to take care of Tease while Rudy continued to attack him. Rudy's powerful attack almost cut the Thunder Waker sword, prompting Red to use another sword. After Rudy's attack, it quickly cut Red's sword into 2, but Red managed to remove the Sacred Avenger from Rudy's hand. Rudy regained consciousness and cried to her brother. Danon and Albert arrived, while Rit worried that her power was not enough to heal Tease's wound. Rudy tried to heal her, but she could no longer use her healing hands. She couldn't accept that her healing power wasn't working when she needed it most and blamed herself for what happened to Tease. Theodora approached them and offered to heal Tease. A few days later, Rudy's blessing had a name, and it was the New Truth. One of its abilities was the so-called ruler, which could control other blessings. Rudy used this power to stop her hero blessing. This marked the end of the Banished from the Heroes Party. I hope you enjoyed it and give it a thumbs up. please subscribe to my channel so you won't miss out. Thanks for watching.